Welcome to Read Between the Wines, where two bibliophiles discuss our love of the written word from cover to cover and cork to glass. Pour yourself a beverage and join us for this week's episode. Cheers! Our OnlyFans for books. What if there were?
Our Bookly fans? We could start one. What if we did? What if we read?
I almost called it BonelyFans. Like Book OnlyFans. BonelyFans is not a good name.
That would still be OnlyFans.
Right, that's OnlyFans with...
We could read sexy books.
Have you heard of the, like, you can get on and be an audiobook reader?
Yes. I thought about doing that, but that's really like, you got really, I don't know, I can't change my voice.
I can. It's not good, but I can do it. It's doable.
How it goes.
So, who knows? I don't have the right sounds.
They're in my head that way.
Thank you for joining us for Read Between the Wines.
We're happy to have you here. Asmer. Is that making a noise?
I don't know. I'll have to look at the thing.
We'll have to. We'll check the audio.
TBD.
TBD.
Anyway.
TBR, TBD.
TBR, TBD. Welcome back to today's episode where we're talking about...
Books to movies.
Books to movies?
Nope, that's a lie.
Shows. We're talking books to shows this
Books
one.
to shows.
Books to shows. And this one, so books to shows and books to movies for me, not a lot I like.
Spoiler alert.
Not a lot I like.
TLDR.
TLDR. This is going to be a short episode. No, I'm just kidding. It's over. Thank you for joining us.
We hated them. Goodbye.
No, and that's actually not true.
It's not true. You hated them. I do not.
There are certain ones that I do love.
Yeah.
But I'm also admittedly very bad at consuming video media. To the point that I will listen to a YouTube video before I will watch it.
Okay.
So, I'm not good at it. So we're going to go in with that as a disclaimer for anything that I say going forward.
Setting expectations.
But yeah, just right now.
I like it.
Also, it's almost like, don't listen to me, but don't listen to me about this.
Right. Like, maybe there's other people.
If you agree with me, like,
you can't be the only weirdo in the world.
I appreciate you being part of my clan here because your girl has a hard time finding good shows to movies or books to shows.
Yeah. Okay. So I think that's perfect. Are there any you do like?
Yes. There is. So, and also...
Let's start on a positive note.
Right, on a positive note. I am a huge fan of Outlander, the book series.
Okay.
Right, and I think I had read most of the books before the series even started. And I want to say I just saw, because I do follow the author and the show and the actors and everything. I follow them all on the social medias. And I believe they just released today scene shots from season 7.
Interesting.
Right? And so they've had this going on for a long time. It's been on Stars. I don't know what it's on now because I honestly stopped watching it. But they did such a really nice job with how I envisioned the actors, like how I envisioned the characters in the story into the actors who they used. I loved them. And I think when it came out, I had really small kids. And so you can't really watch Outlander with small children. It's too much of everything. Like, there's too much blood, there's too much guts, there's too much sex, there's too much everything, right? There's just a lot happening there, which is probably why it's such a great show. But the books are also so good.
Yeah.
That I had read them I'd read them so far along in the story that then going back, I had to be like, but wait, that's not what happened. It is what happened. It was just book 1.
Right.
And I'm in book 6. Like, I think that's the thing that kind of happened there. Oh. But I absolutely love the books. There's nothing I would change about the books except for the fact that they're so long. To be honest, one of them is sitting literally right here.
Yeah,
the last one, and I
right
have
there.
not, and I think I alluded to this in a previous episode. I am taking so long to read this one because the other one's not even out yet. Like, she's still writing the next one.
Yeah.
So I know it's not the last. But I'm at the point now that I might have to start over.
Yeah.
I might have to start over and reread it again.
Recap.
And that's not the thing I do with series, typically.
Yeah.
I don't typically reread them. But at the same time, I love this author so much. It's Diana Gabaldon, by the way, if you haven't heard of it. And there's also like there's a side series that kind of goes with it that follows one of the other characters who's a really well-liked character. And I have that one as well. So there's enough to keep you busy.
Yeah.
And so part of me really wants to reread all of it.
Yeah.
And then the other part of me actually wants to go back and watch the show. Because I think I stopped in season 3. Things get a little bit, I mean, things are gory the whole time, but things get really gory. I think I want to say in season 2, season 3. And I couldn't watch it with the little kids around who were now becoming sentient, who knew what was going on. And I couldn't stay up late enough to watch it. Right? Because I wanted to spend time with other things in my life. And so
that's when you were reading.
Right. And they're hour-long episodes.
Yeah.
Which, the thing is, if you ask me to sit down and watch a 6-hour movie, no. If you ask me if I want to binge watch a show that has 6 episodes that are each an hour long, I will do that.
I'm in.
I will do that. The commitment level for me is different for some reason. Yeah. And I think it's because I can stop in the middle of I can stop at the end of an episode and be like, done.
Yeah.
And come back to it the next day.
You have a break.
Yes. But Outlander is 100%
is
my book to show.
Yes.
100%.
I was trying to think of ones that I really liked.
Okay.
Because half the time I don't know that a series that I'm watching was books until something is like, this is based on a book. Right. And I'm like, wait, what?
Isn't Bridgerton based on books?
I have no idea.
I think it is. Sorry.
No, I have no idea.
I think it is.
And then I'm reading books and, you'll see on the cover oh, this is going to be made into a motion picture movie. And I'm like, wait, what?
Why? What are they doing?
Where did I miss this? So I will tell you, I don't know until I'm there's the big ones like Harry Potter and Game of Thrones and things like that.
Right. I didn't read Game of Thrones. I didn't watch Game of Thrones. I consumed Game of Thrones through YouTube clips where I only watched Daenerys.
You got all the spoilers.
I only watched Daenerys' storyline.
You got all the big...
Yep, so I watched Daenerys' storyline the entire way through, in clips and pieces. Don't even know if they were in the right thing, but I know what happened.
Right?
I know what happened.
You had the theme.
Right, but apparently there's a lot more that happened in there. And now there's this House of the Dragon show that I also haven't watched. Yes. But part of me thinks I could go watch that and then watch Game of Thrones and still be fine.
It's different.
But isn't House of the Dragon technically before Game of Thrones?
It is.
See?
It's
Girl pays attention.
Several generations before.
Right?
So it's very intriguing.
Anyways, sorry, that was definitely not where we were supposed to go with that. Join me on my tangent.
But Game of Thrones is the one that I was going to bring up that I enjoyed. I watched the series, and actually, the first time I tried to watch it, could not get into it.
Okay.
Couldn't. Same with the books. There are so many houses. Mm-hmm. There are wild names. It's not like
they're
Ryan and Sam and and you have to remember who goes where. And I don't think I was in a good place.
Fair.
When either the series or the books trying to start those. But I did get into the series, the TV series, and I watched that and enjoyed it. And so now I've been collecting the books to go back.
Okay.
They're a little intimidating.
The books are, yes, that's why I haven't started them.
The series was so detailed. Yes. The storylines are so epic. There's so much. Mm-hmm. And the world is massive, right? And there's 5 different houses.
Yeah, there's a ton of things happening.
And everybody has a different storyline, and it's keeping up. And I thought, as detailed as that is, the books are probably just as or more, and that's why there's so many. So I started picking up the books, and they're probably this thick and about this big.
Oh gosh. So they all seem
they're smaller.
You know how I feel about a stout book. I'm not a stout book fan.
With small print.
Right. That hurts me.
Page end to page end. There's not massive margins. Mm-mm. So that's been one that I have not been able to dive into the books. Mm-hmm. I had a great time with the series.
Fair.
I would really like to read the books, but that feels so overwhelming.
It's intimidating.
And so daunting. And if I'm in it, I'm going to be in it for the long haul, because you don't just leave this world. Right? Once you're out, you need to submerge yourself in it and stay in it. So I feel like if I jump off the Game of Thrones series, I'm not coming up for air for a while. This is going to be a commitment.
There you go. That's fair.
So that's on my list.
Fair.
But really kind of scary.
That is very fair because it's the whole same reason I haven't started reading the books. And part of me, like when the show started, I was like, okay, I also don't do shows well. Yeah. I can admittedly say I don't do shows well. And so because of that, I don't typically get into something that I know has a lot of seasons or unless it's something I can pick up and put down. Like I'm in the middle of, Call the Midwife and I haven't watched it in months and that's not going to change anything, right? I also haven't started the 3rd season of Bridgerton or whatever season we're on because I can't get into it yet unless I'm in the mood to like actually binge it because I want it to be done, right? Yes. Which is why I haven't picked up the Game of Thrones books yet.
Yeah.
I was gifted the True Blood series.
I was going to bring that one up.
Yes, I was gifted the True Blood series. I didn't watch the show. I hear the show's great.
The show is great.
And I was told, hey, if you like, I read the ACOTAR series. And so I was like, hey, I was reading that one. And I was told, if you like this series, given what you're explaining, because the person hadn't read it yet, you are going to love this True Blood series. It's a series of, and literally it's just the series itself, like the stack of books is gorgeous because they're rainbow colored. Yes. And so the colors are beautiful. They come in a lovely little box and they're a good size. Yes. And so part of me is kind of waiting until I have finished some of those other books that I'm reading so I can sit down and just fly through them because they're not big. Yeah. They're not thick books.
So do you think that you're going to dip your feet in to see the True Blood series first? Or do you think you're going to wait and read the books first?
I'll read the books first.
And then will you go watch the series, or are we going to avoid?
Nope, I will read the books because I think overall, in most things, the book's going to have more detail. Yeah. And I'm also the person who kind of likes to know what's happening, right? Especially if you're going to do things that have to do with a little bit of gore, a little bit of whatever. Like, I kind of like to know what I'm getting myself into. Yes. And at least with the books, I am in charge of the level of gruesomeness that happens. That's true. Yes. Like I can read it, but also like whatever my brain depicts is generally fine. I can handle it. So I think once I read that, if I enjoy it, I will definitely go to the show.
Yeah. I'm one of those that I have done both, and I really did enjoy. See? I enjoyed it. Okay. So I'm very curious to hear.
Well, I'm excited
because
to do
it's been a couple years.
Yeah, it's not new.
So I would love to get your fresh take on it. Perfect. More to come when you see those.
Right? Yes. And I know you had mentioned having this at your house, but not starting it yet. The Witcher.
Yes. So I've seen the shows, played the video game.
Did you play the video game?
Well, I watched my husband.
Oh, okay. I was like, that's like, tell me more. But I hear the video game's cool.
It is very cool. That was actually my first introduction. Oh. Was I saw him playing the video game. Okay. And saw the worlds and started to get to know the characters and like the stories behind all the different individuals that brought in. So that was my first into the Witcher world. Yes. And then the series came out, and so we moved into that, and I was like, oh, I kind of know the storyline because it was following some of the games, I knew of that. And then I was told this is a book series, and so we picked up all the books, and I do have yet to start that one.
Right. I haven't picked up the books yet. I keep meaning to, but I have not done it yet.
Yes.
I did not do the video game first. I did the show, but I did seasons 1 and 2 at the same time.
That's right.
So I hadn't started when everybody else started. Apparently I'm late to everything. And so I watched season 1, season 2, like I consumed them like air.
Yes.
And is your husband a Henry Cavill fan or is he a Witcher fan?
He is both.
Okay.
So he was both. So he really enjoyed the games. Right. And then into the series. And he thought he was the perfect Witcher. Based on what he looked like in the game.
Yes.
And so I'm going to be curious when I start to read the books. Because it's kind of weird when you work backwards, right? Yes. So you've already seen the characters. So now you don't have to visualize the characters in your head.
I don't have to create
as you're reading. Like, I'm going to picture Henry Cavill.
Right.
As I'm doing
Never a bad day.
But it's not wrong.
Not a bad day.
But I'll be curious to see if the depictions in the book lead me to him.
Right.
Or if it's going to be completely different and I'm just going to have the visual because I have seen the game, because I have seen the series. Right. It's going to be very interesting to see.
Yes. And I am I'm a Henry Cavill fan more than I'm a Henry Cavill fan more than I'm a Witcher fan, but Henry Cavill in The Witcher,
Right.
100% fantastic.
Yes.
And the thing I think is so endearing to me is that he is a fan of the game.
He's a huge
fan. He is a fan of the books. He
Yes.
is a fan, which is why things are not working out the way that I would
Right.
love them to.
Right.
Because he's not going to do season 4.
Right.
Will I watch season 4 with the new Witcher, who I believe is Liam Hemsworth? Yes? Question mark? I'm going to watch it because I want to know what happens.
Right.
But I also know that given how the books are supposed to go, I haven't read them yet, but how they're supposed to go, this next portion of seasons is actually going to be focused on Ciri more than The Witcher himself.
Yes.
So, okay, but
at the same time, that's kind of why all the drama started, because they weren't sticking to the storyline.
Correct.
So it's going to be very curious to see the direction they take the show versus the way the books.
And I think that has to do, going back to what I had talked about with Outlander, they are so, another reason I know this is because I've watched all the behind the scenes things because I'm a nerd for this series. They are so close with Diana Gabaldon in their portrayal of the different scenes. Like, she, for many of the seasons, had been on set answering questions, figuring out how they were supposed to be depicted, what she had meant behind this, that, and the other. So things are very much, as close as possible, akin to what you would assume. Mm-hmm. Which is very cool, because to have an author know that their work is being depicted in
her
film,
visions
like
of the whole world.
That's fantastic to me.
Yes.
And so I think it's interesting. It'll be interesting to see what happens with season 4 of The Witcher. I am going to watch. I'm not that person who's like, I'm not watching because Henry's not in it, but I understand people who are.
Yeah.
Right? I am very close to somebody who is definitely a staunch not going to watch it. Like, absolutely not watching it. And I was like, fine. Like, how could you do that? But at the same time, we are different humans and consume things different ways. And the curiosity will get me more than my loyalty to the actor himself, because he will be fine.
Yeah.
Also, side note, I believe his girlfriend/wife is pregnant, and he's going to be a dad soon, which is super cute.
Aww.
Yep. So I think he announced on Father's Day that he was going to become a dad soon. And I was like, that's the cutest thing.
We love that.
And can you imagine what that baby's going to look like?
Fantastic.
Big side note on there, but adorable.
But listen,
it's gonna be lovely.
Yes. Yes. So I think next I have to share one that just went sideways for me.
Okay.
Typically the books are so detailed and the world is just massive and created that when they do create shows from books, they have to dumb it down a lot.
Yeah.
There's pieces they leave out, right? And so you're getting kind of like maybe an outline, or what are the notes?
Like the
shorthand notes. What are these called?
Cliff notes.
Cliff notes.
I was
You're
like, it's
getting
there.
the Cliff
You
Notes
can tell
version.
we didn't use those in school because they were not allowed.
Not allowed.
So we had to read the damn book.
But now, they use those. So going back to, I didn't know it was a series, I started watching The Magicians.
Okay.
And I believe at the time it was on Sci-Fi. And I think there were 4 or 5 seasons. And it was about a make-believe world called Fillory.
Okay.
Which was written about in books. And then it was about these kids who were magicians. And they went to magic school, basically. And their journeys and their adventures and all of this. And then, spoiler alert, they do find out that Fillory is real.
Okay.
And they end up there and they become kings and queens. And they have all these adventures over there. And then they come back and they're magic humans. So it's very cool fantasy, sci-fi, magic, the whole thing.
And that's all the show. Yes?
It's all in the show.
Okay, all in the show. Perfect.
So it was fantastic. I was enthralled for however long, like binged them all. And it was not a small series.
No.
And then I found out like halfway through that this was based on books. And I thought,
like, I love the show.
And I was like,
can you imagine the book?
I love the show. I cannot wait. So I went out and looked for these books. These books are by Lev Grossman.
Okay.
When I tell you that I found out there are only 3 books. And I'm like, okay. So I'm thinking maybe it's like a giant book.
Yeah.
Maybe one, No. They are 3 very regular, just regular
size
books.
books.
Yes. And I was like, okay, this is going to be interesting.
Right? How do they get all of that
How
detail
is all
into
of that in here?
this?
Yes. Yes. So,
Are they dehydrated? Like,
yeah,
what did we do?
What is happening? What is happening? So I started reading, and
Not it?
No, the TV show expanded so much.
Oh.
And just added so much detail and created a bigger world. I feel like the books are very... After seeing the series, they now feel like an outline.
The books are the Cliff Notes?
Yes.
Oh, no.
Yes. So it's very interesting because I'm like, I remember, oh yeah, there's this adventure and then there's this, but I'm like, they're not really going into any detail about this adventure. Like, this isn't how that happened. So that was very awkward for me because that doesn't feel like the norm. It feels like the books are huge and they have to, you know, condense the series or the movies down a lot. Not the case. It was reversed in this one. So that was wild to me.
Yeah, I kind of hate that.
Right?
Frankly hate that because, I don't know. I'm just so partial to the books because they usually come first.
Because I want to use
Because you don't
imagination.
see somebody, but you also don't see somebody who's like, hey, I made this TV show. Now I'm going to write a book about it. Nobody does that.
No.
And if they do, tell me I'm wrong because I don't know that I've ever seen that.
No. I mean, and these books were written first.
Right.
So it's like they just didn't go into enough detail.
Right.
And I'm curious to know if maybe I was spoiled by seeing the show first.
Maybe you would have liked the books.
And maybe,
or at least not been so disappointed.
I do like the books. I did really like the books.
Right.
But what I pictured in my head as I was reading was
everything
the stories that I had seen. And I was filling that out. Whereas I don't think that there was that much detail in the books. So I'm curious if there are people who have read the books but haven't seen the series, like what you thought about it. Because, you know, when you have a thought or a story in your head and you don't really tell every detail because you're filling it in because you know the story, but like maybe I'm not giving you the full story. I'm curious to know if people reading the books had that thought,
the same thing.
And I was just filling it in so it felt a little fuller. Very curious about that. I did, however, go back and buy them all in hard copy because I am going to keep them because I am just... in love with this series. Right. That, like, maybe I elevated the books a little bit more.
Fair. That's fair.
It's wild.
I don't know. Like I said, I haven't watched too many book to show adaptations. I don't know that there are many that I disliked.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think movie-wise, there's probably a few.
That would be an interesting episode.
Next episode is the one where we'll talk about the movies, but I don't know that show-wise I had that big of an issue. Yeah. Because I didn't do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't tend to get into those. So maybe I'll have better thoughts on that after I do True Blood and after I do the Witcher books and after I do, you know, Game of Thrones. Like, I have a lot of books to read.
Yes.
I have a lot of worlds to expand into.
Yes.
And knowing that I'm already well within a couple of different worlds right now, I'm a huge fan of a world.
Yes.
Right? Huge fan of a world.
I love the whole ecosystem.
If you have taken the time to create an entire universe, an entire, you know, land, an entire whatever. I love when a book goes into something and it's like, oh yeah, and also in this far off land over here that's called this thing that has these people. Like, what?
Yes.
Like... I can't plan dinner for 2 weeks, much less like create
plan
a whole world. Plan a
and
whole world.
Another language.
And then keep it together.
Yes. And make it make sense.
Right?
No, not in my...
The creativity in that is...
I'm not there yet.
Right? The creativity there is just bonkers. And I am not only like... excited about it and like proud for them. I'm in awe of the ability to do that because that is not a skill that I have.
Right. And I think that's what makes a book so fantastic. Yes. When you can just wrap yourself up in it like a blanket, you are in the world.
There's nothing like that feeling of reading for a while and then all of a sudden coming out of that that reading session and being like, it's been 2 hours and I've been somewhere else for that whole time.
Right. And no one will know
what I know.
And
how I experienced
and the world I experienced because welcome back to real life.
Right? But it's cool to see how somebody adapts that to a show.
Yes.
So that people can enjoy it simultaneously. But I think that's also why people are so critical of adaptations to film.
Yes.
Because if it doesn't match, you're screwed.
Yeah.
Like, you run a huge risk.
You're going to piss a lot of people off if it's too far.
Yeah. But
yes,
press is press.
And I think that was, going back to the Witcher series, there was a lot of characters who were not the same. Mm-hmm. And there were a lot of people who were mad that they were sticking so closely to the storyline, and yet the characters weren't quite right.
Yeah. Bridgerton, I hear, has done that as well for this past season.
Yes.
I believe they swapped the gender of one of the characters.
Ah.
And people are pissed. I don't know who it is. I don't know.
Haven't been there yet.
Right. I haven't watched it. I've watched all the other seasons. Granted, on that note of Bridgerton, the Queen Charlotte offshoot of Bridgerton, absolutely loved. Been my favorite so far.
Okay.
I actually don't enjoy the actual Bridgerton series as much as I loved the Queen Charlotte series.
The offshoot.
Oh, God, it was great. It was great. I still think about it.
We love a character storyline.
I still think about it way too often. But again, parts of the books and things like that. But I think it's interesting. And I always want to know the why. Like, why did you choose to change this?
Give me a little backstory.
And what is it doing to change
right.
your portrayal later?
Right.
So many things to talk about, so many things to think about.
Right.
But I'm excited to get into the piece where we talk about movies, because I do have more movies that I have watched than TV shows.
Oh, good. So you'll finally have something to contribute.
Finally have something to say. I know. Thank you for shouldering the burden of this episode. I appreciate you.
I'm here for you. Whatever I can do.
Right? Exactly.
Yeah, so be sure to tune into that next one. We're talking books to movies.
We are. And we'll see you there.
See you over there.
Bye. It was great to have you join us for today's chat. If you'd like to continue the conversation, provide a recommendation, or simply say hi, pop over to Instagram at wine.read.wine. Also, if you're the review type person, we'd love for you to subscribe and leave us an honest review on your favorite podcast player. Or leave us a comment on our YouTube channel. We'll see you on the next episode. Happy reading!